Carmelo Anthony retired today. This is from his retirement announcement, which he put out on social media.
Future holds for me. When people ask what I believe my legacy is, it's not my feats on the court that come to mind, nor the awards or praise, because my story has always been more than basketball. My legacy, my son, it's in you. I will forever continue to do you, because the time has come for you to carry this torch.
I like it, but I mean, it does seem like a lot of pressure on his son, who's apparently going to switch schools in New York from Christ the King to Long Island Lutheran. Nonetheless, Carmelo Anthony, how should he be remembered? He's a great scorer. There was a portion of time there, 2010 until probably 2013, where he was the best scorer in the league. Maybe even he led the league in scoring 2006, 2007. He was 28 a game for a good 5, 6, 7 years, and what's called a 3-level score at the rim in the mid-range. He could post up, score in the mid-range, and he steadily improved. It had some years where he shot the ball very well from 3, and then late in his career, he just became a spot-up three-point shooter after being out of the league. All right, he got cut in Houston in 2019, and he was out of the league for the rest of the year, came back with Portland and kind of changed his game and just hyper-focused on his shooting. But most dudes in the league like Carmelo. It's weird what an NCAA championship can do in terms of never challenging whether or not you're a winning player because you won 6 games in college. But, man, what a scorer. A scoring machine. And, yes, I think he's the all-time leading scorer in the Olympics, but, again, that's just a product of he was never the best player on the Olympic team. He was never the best player in the NBA. He's not hardened defensively in terms of not caring at all, but never been a good defender. And then the game kind of evolved out of him, right? Because so much of what he did was in the mid-range and the post, and that's not how they play now. He's covered the NBA for a long, long time. Got great insight, thoughts, analysis on it for us. Buke, let's start with last night. What has happened to the Boston Celtics?
They ran into the wrong team at the wrong time, and I would say they've been exposed. I know Joe Mazzulla is catching a lot of grief, and I'm not saying that he should be absolved, but it got me to start looking back at last year's playoff run. And I feel as if we've seen a lot of the same issues come up. And the thought was that the loss to the Warriors was going to galvanize them, that it was going to motivate them, that they were going to take a different approach. And ultimately what we've seen through these playoffs is that hasn't happened. They still, at their core, if your best players aren't your leaders, you're always going to be vulnerable to up and down performances. And that's what we're seeing. I don't know that I would look at Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown as the leaders of this team. And yet that is how they are presented. That's how, for the most part, their system runs. And it's going to leave you vulnerable, and that's where we're seeing a team that is built exact opposite, taking advantage of that.
What do they change in is Joe Mazzulla's job in jeopardy?
I would have to think on some level it is, but I don't know that it's an automatic the way people are presuming that it is. I would say that it's something that certainly is going to be discussed during the offseason. I don't know that Brad Stevens is going to be quick to make that change, being a former coach and looking at some of the other issues that they have. For me, it's you've got to break up the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum tandem. You've got to change that dynamic because that's at the heart of your team. And I get that they're young and that LeBron, Michael, etc., all didn't win championships until they were 27, and yes, they've already been to the finals. But there are elements there that I can't ignore that I don't know that they're going to outgrow just as they get older. I think it is who they are, and I think part of the issue is the dynamic between those two. I said it earlier. Like, I think they're too friendly. I don't think they push each other to the level that is necessary. I don't think they're capable of having the hard conversations necessary to say, dude, you can't play like this, you can't be like this if we're going to win.
And then on the other side, you got the Heat. I mean, dude, Gabe Vincent. It really is amazing the personnel they're using to have this sort of run.
I'm 1,000% with you. And people are out there, like when you mentioned that they have 7 undrafted players, that people shouldn't bring that up anymore. That's an insult to them. No, it's not. It is the highest form of compliment I could give anybody, much like someone who's a walk-on in college,
sure,
and they end up earning a scholarship. Like, no, you had to earn every single thing that you got. And I would say that that's part of, if I look at the two teams that are up 3-0, like that's the one common denominator that they have. One or one of several. They have very demanding coaches. They have coaches that are backed up by their front office in terms of this is how we're going to play, and we're holding everybody accountable to the same thing. And they have legions of players who have been discounted elsewhere, whether it's Nikola Jokic being a second-round pick, Jamal Murray, the bubble performance being dismissed, Aaron Gordon. You can go down the line. Michael Porter Jr., I would say the same for the Miami Heat. Even Jimmy Butler was not considered to be this kind of guy. And that, along with the continuity to me, is making the difference. And if I look at the last 5-6 years, I could say that about every single team that's won a championship. There's a team that was discounted in some way, shape, or form. It's the absolute DNA of the Golden State Warriors, for those who may be coming to the party late and not realizing, how they were formed and what they were when they started. And even going into the finals last year, they weren't supposed to be the better team. We were already anointing the Boston Celtics. I feel like we've done way too much of that with young talent, where it's just a matter of how many, that they're going to win championships and how many championships they're going to win. And I can't help but feel that on some level undermines the need to prove it before you're awarded it.
Rick Bucher joining us. Let's get to the Nuggets-Lakers series. Mm-hmm. Biggest issue you think that has been exposed in the Lakers in this series?
Oh, LeBron's old. I mean, he's old. The numbers have looked good, but like the idea that he was going to carry you someplace, I went back and I looked at first of all, they were 13th in the Western Conference with him, and then they remade the team. And that team, without LeBron, went from 12th into the play-in, went to 9th. And so the importance of LeBron, or LeBron's impact on this team overall, look, he's 38 years old. I give him all the credit in the world. I think the Lakers have overachieved. I think that he has overachieved this season. If you're talking about going up against two-time MVP, and a team that was in the conference finals just a couple of years ago and has retained their stars and added key pieces, a number of key pieces, and they're all in their prime. So you're going up against Anthony Davis, who, maybe still on the edge of his prime. LeBron's certainly not in his prime. And a bunch of mix and match contributing players who are one-way players. So there's a number of things that they exposed, but I would say at the heart of it is that LeBron James ain't that guy anymore, and that's okay. You wouldn't expect him to be, but there's still people out there that would try to convince you that he is.
No question. A couple that work for Fox Sports 1 that would try and convince you that he is, and he's not. And
it's trying really hard.
Trying really hard. Trying really, 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 really hard. What do they do to try and fix it?
Oh, I don't know honestly, because you're not going to move LeBron. I said it when they signed him. Like, you gave him the Kobe Bryant deal. He's going to sell tickets. He's going to, he's going to continue to be an attraction, but paying him a lot of money, and I don't know that he can live up to that contract from a playing standpoint at this point. As a box office draw, without question. So do you move Anthony Davis? I mean, Anthony Davis has been really valuable. That's the only piece that you can really move. You're going to overpay to keep Austin Reeves if you can. You got a bunch of other free agents. I mean, there was a point at which I was looking at this. In fact, this is a story that I want to write for Fox Sports, which is, like, if you're the Lakers and you see the run you made since you made all these changes, do you just try to hold together as many of the pieces as you can and run it back and think with a full season, maybe we can be a little bit better? Or do you say,
no,
look, we got the best out of this and we got to, we got to go back to the drawing board? And I would expect that it's going to be, you're going to have to make some significant changes, but I'll be interested to see.
Right. I mean, like, look, I think it's interesting. There's talk about, hey, do we bring Kyrie in now because the real D'Angelo Russell has been exposed. Right. But Kyrie and D'Angelo Russell, obviously Kyrie a better player and at a higher level, but right. it was similar where when they were traded for, you got to re-sign these guys to validate the trade, and that does not seem like it would be smart. Kyrie, Austin Reeves, does that make sense?
Yeah. No, because you're going to be compromised defensively in a major way. And look,
and you're going to have LeBron. You have to play him, and you're going to be compromised defensively.
100%. Like the idea that you're going to build a championship team out of what you have, I don't see how you get there. And it starts with you got a 38 going on 39 LeBron James. It's not unlike looking at Chris Paul with the Phoenix Suns and expecting him to still be a core reason why you're going to advance and play for a championship. It's not a diss to either one of those guys. It's you get to a certain point where age-wise you're playing against guys that are 10 years younger coming into their prime, and you have a certain advantage because of your experience and your understanding of the game, and maybe just that kind of a little bit of an intimidation factor. But that lasts until they blow by you and go, he's not the same guy.
Yeah. Why do the Nuggets keep playing the underdog? I know they actually were the underdog, and they're still underdog tonight. Why do they keep playing this underdog card?
Why not? Because it keeps everybody's foot on the pedal. I would Mike Malone. I mean, first of all, there's a certain degree of it that is true, right? You get the number one seed. They dispatched the Phoenix Suns and the gentleman's sweep on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They demonstrated, they had all the pieces in the matchup against the Lakers where if you just stepped back and looked at it, you go, wait a minute. They got better perimeter shooters. They got more two-way players coming off the bench. They've got a bigger defensive guy, two defensive guys to put on LeBron with Aaron Gordon and Jeff Green. And people are still going, you know what? The Lakers got him. I mean, Mike Malone, I'd be beating that drum. He's going to have a harder time in the finals, presuming they get there and they're against the Miami Heat. He's going to have a harder time beating that drum that we're the underdogs. But it has been the fuel that has resulted in them not letting up. Game 3 was a perfect time for them to let up. And yet it was the Lakers who didn't come correct. So I think it's part of their formula, and I would ride that thing as long as I could.
Bucher, you're the best, man. Love your work. Thanks for joining us.
You got it, Doug.